Hello, Jonathan Heinrich here. Today I'll be walking through a case study and prototype as part of the AI Product Management Specialization from Duke University. Let's dive right in. In the case of all projects, we start with the opportunity evaluation. Is there business value in this project? The case study we're looking at today is a social media marketing sentiment analysis tool. Hootsuite and Talkwalker are industry leaders that have built a comprehensive platform over years of development. I'm going to see what I can put together myself with available AI tools. But first, let's make sure we properly evaluate the opportunity. The steps to ask are simple. Is there a problem, Ringo? Can Mr. Machine Learning help solve it? And does someone care? Is there a problem? Okay, yes, let's think back to some recent social media gaffes that could impact a brand's ability to hit its business outcome, i.e. its revenue goals. Two quick examples. When BMW rolled out their subscription heated seat offering, yes, that means paying a monthly fee to use the hardware that's built into your car. That did not go over well. Second, H&M released an ad featuring this boy wearing a hoodie that said coolest monkey in the jungle, and the Twitter sphere called for a boycott. Problem? Check. As we know, not all problems are suited to machine learning solutions. So let's first think about the data. We have a large amount of structured data, and there's too much volume for a human to monitor. So in short, yes, this is well suited for machine learning. Check. Finally, does someone care? We've certainly seen brands like these at the center of controversy, so the consumers definitely care. And if consumers care, executives care even more. This article cites a study that suggests companies can expect to lose millions due to social media gaffes. So yes, someone cares. Check. Next, we'll use the CRISP-DM process, which stands for Cross-Industry Standard Process for Data Mining, to look at number one, business understanding. We've defined the problem. Now let's define the first use case we'll approach with a close eye on the definition of success. Desired outcomes should always ladder up to a top-level organizational goal. In this case, we'll use increased revenue. We'll measure our progress against this outcome with metrics. Number three, to validate our solution, let's define it specifically. Create a sentiment analysis report to show which posts were the most popular, positive, or created the most conversation. And from the results, we'll iterate along the plan, do, study, act approach for continuous improvement. Now that we've got our validation plan, let's get into the machine learning system design. And let's look at three main consideration areas. One, where does the processing take place? For this, I can run the process on the cloud. No need for this to take place on an edge device like a phone. Two, online or offline learning. The process can run overnight in offline learning for the initial analysis. After the model is perfected, we may want to shift to an online learning model to take advantage of real-time trends. Three, how immediate do we need a response? This model will leverage batch predictions where we can get all the results at once. Alternatively, a use case like a self-driving car would need immediate online predictions. Beginning with the end in mind, we ask ourselves, what type of output do I need to solve my problem? So additional considerations include regression versus classification. Then is the data labeled? Not exactly. We have hashtags, so we'll experiment with those as proxy labels in lieu of true metadata. Now let's build a prototype. Let's talk through the process steps of our prototype. First, we'll generate some sample social media data into a CSV file. We'll input that CSV file into a categorizer. Once the categorizer classifies each post as neutral, positive, or negative, we'll bring it into a combined text node to marry the existing CSV with the new classification outputs. We'll join that in a string array and finally generate that file and reflect the sentiment of each post. Let's take a look. First, we're going to generate some sample data. With a little help from my friend ChatGPT, I created this Python script, which then ran and created this Instagram sample data CSV file. Let's take that CSV file. I'm going to drop it into Google Docs here. I'm going to open it with Google Sheets. You could use Excel, of course. And I can see the data that was created. I see post content, number of likes, comments, as we've outlined, along with the author and the post date. Perfect. Okay, now that we've got our sample data, let's go into Gumloop, which is where we're going to set up our workflow. So first thing I did was I created two nodes to extract the CSV data. First one is the rows, second one is the columns. I'm going to go ahead and select the data that we just created for both of these. Next, I'm going to run this through a categorizer. So what we're going to do is we've added prompts for the different categories that this classification node will put them into. We've got designations for negative, neutral, or positive. We're going to go ahead and include justification so we can see what happened, this interpretability. Next, we're going to pick the LLM that we'll use. For this one, we're going to use Claude 3 Haiku. Once the categorizer runs, we're going to bring it back into this combined text node, which will bring the information from our initial spreadsheet and marry it together with the new classification results. We'll bring that into a string array, and then from there, we'll generate the file, output as a CSV. So now that we've set that up, let's go ahead and run this prototype. Hit run. And as you can see, the flow has started. You'll see the justification cranking through, and it has completed. So now we have this customer social media sentiment CSV file. So let's download that. We're going to find our file here, drop it into Google Docs again. We're going to open it with Google Sheets to see how it turned out. And now what we'll see is a very similar output where we've got date, author, post, number of likes, comments, and then this final column where we have the sentiment analysis. Now looking through it quickly, some observations, I see that there's a lot of neutrals and only a few positives and no negatives. And if I look quickly at the data, I see, let's take this last one here. The review was, the band was amazing last night. Comment number 1 said, I think the band needs more practice. And the second says, I disagree with this review. So it says neutral. I think that should probably be negative. Which leads us to the next part of this adventure, which is the evaluation stage. We use the scientific method to validate our work. Or as TPS states, plan, do, study, act. And finally, let's consider some of the risks this model will face in production. Before we go and start tweaking our prototype, let's think about some of these risks. So what could happen? First of all, some event in the zeitgeist might happen and things take on a whole new meaning. For example, the sentiment of Will Smith pivoted substantially after the famous Oscar slap. This could be an outlier or represent concept drift. So following our example, our Fresh Prince of Bel-Air is now a polarizing character. And of course, the sheer amount of data on social media suggests that we might need to plan against data drift as well. In summary, the steps we went through today are the opportunity evaluation, the use of crisp DM process of business understanding, creating a validation plan, designing an ML system. We created a model prototype on available AI tools, and we assessed the potential risks in production. Now, this is just one segment of our prototype. Next, we'll look to start building out the process to generate new posts from the existing voice to automate our social media marketing efforts. Thank you for joining me in this discussion about managing machine learning projects. And as always, if you have any questions, please let me know.